Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gen Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II, here with Cody Almasi and Stainer. Boys, how we doing today?
Doing great, baby. Doing great. Another day above ground, fresh air, day worked, money made. Here to talk about some sports.
Let's do it. Cody, how you feeling, man?
Doing good. Excited to be joining you guys here on the GSN Podcast. Little change of scenery for me. Going to talk about some things other than college sports, so a little excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a good dialogue with you boys tonight. A little bit of a treat having Cody along with us here on the GSN
Absolute
pod.
treat.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great time. We're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. Got some topics we're going to talk about, dive into some pertinent issues. A lot of stuff happening in the sports world right now, all over the place, professional, college, you name it. There's a lot going on. No shortage of breaking news. So we're happy to have you guys with us here today on a Wednesday, the 1st of December. One more month left into
Merry
2021. Christmas. Yeah, Merry early Christmas to you guys. We hope you guys are in the Christmas season. You got your trees up, things of that nature. It's that time of year. So without further ado, let's get right into the topic. So I want to talk about Max Scherzer. Let's talk about his max contract. No pun intended. 3-year, $130 million deal with the New York Mets. Transitioning over from the LA Dodgers. Smitty, I'll start with you. What does this contract say for the sport of baseball? Because it seems like every year that there's contracts that come out that they try to one up the season before that. This makes Max Scherzer the highest paid athlete in all of sports. What does this say for the sport of baseball and sports in general?
So yearly, right? With that highest paid.
Well, yeah, yearly, right? Exactly.
Trademark there. Yeah, I mean, what it says about baseball is baseball's got money. Baseball has so much money. You kind of look around and you wonder why your kids aren't playing baseball and baseball only, doing everything they need to do to play baseball. I mean, it's insane. These contracts, 3 years, $130 million. I mean, that's absurd to me. And to be a pitcher out there, I mean, he's a dominant pitcher, Hall of Famer, of course, so he definitely is worth that amount of money. But wow, good for him. Good for him. And kind of surprising. I was surprised when I saw this news feed come out. I wasn't really happy when he went to the Dodgers. Hoorah, he came from the Nationals. But to see him go to the New York Mets, I like that a lot. He's with Noah Syndergaard. He's a phenomenal pitcher as well. He's been dealing with injuries. So they're going to have a pretty dominant rotation over there in New York. So watch out for the Mets. They're creating something good over there.
Yeah, 100%. Cody, what do you think about this contract? What does it say for the sport of baseball and sports in general?
Yeah, like you said, baseball has money. I mean, Max Scherzer is going to be making more than 3 teams even have in their cap. So that just speaks to just kind of the discrepancy that some teams have. The New York Mets have money. Dude's running his team like he's playing the show on his PS5 or Xbox, so it's crazy. Max Scherzer, big fan of him when he was here in Detroit, but just kind of shows you he's always been thinking about the money everywhere he's gone, left the Nationals, left the Tigers, and to leave the Dodgers to go for the Mets. Like, I do like the move, can root for the Mets more than you can root for the Yankees, kind of that other team in New York. So, hey, I'm happy he's paid. His grandkids are going to be paid. We can say that.
Cody, so, I mean, this move, I mean, I think even Corey Seager left for the Rangers, a $10 million, 10-year, $325 million contract there. Sorry about that. 10-year, $325 million. So he left the Dodgers, and I mean, that move happened, and I was like, wow, to the Rangers for 10 years. I mean, holy cow! Corey Seager, I don't know if he wants a couple seasons where they don't make the playoffs or what. He wants to go home early at the end of the year, but. The Dodgers, there's some people leaving. I mean, Chris Taylor, another news feed that just happened recently. He re-signed with the Dodgers. So, and he was a hometown hero during the playoffs. I mean, he was doing everything he could. He played phenomenally to get this contract re-signed. So, a lot of jostling around for this Dodgers team.
Yeah, baseball is definitely one of those sports where it's hard to pick a player and be counting on them to even stay with that team. Besides some of these big 10-year contracts that we've seen for now Corey Seager, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, and players of the like.
It's a long time. I mean, Texas is a great state. I mean, is a nice state. A lot of money there. Beautiful place, I'm sure. So I mean, 10 years, $325 million to play the sport you love. You really can't beat it, regardless of the team. I mean, especially over there in Texas. I mean, if you're over here on the east side.
Yep, nice and warm down there in Texas, dry heat. In light of contracts being signed, Javier Baez just signed a 6-year, $140 million contract with the Detroit Tigers home state team. How are we feeling about this one, Smitty? What can you say about the Javier Baez signing? Is this going to benefit the Tigers, and how, if so?
So at first, I wasn't real sure how I felt about the signing. Everyone was hoping for Carlos Correa. There's a lot of talent out there in the free agency right now, but with what we know is coming, potentially coming to the sport of baseball with the lockout here potentially, they went out and they capitalized on the signing of a good player, a very good player in Javier Baez, who he's kind of been lackluster these past year and a half with his teams and with what he's been doing. But now he's going to the Tigers, and he has a fresh start, another fresh start for Javier Baez in a city that really loves their sports, and I'm sure a lot of people really appreciate him and enjoy this signing. He's a phenomenal player, great athlete, can hit the ball when he's on. He does struggle at the plate at times, but he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's a great shortstop. So we got a good player in him.
Yeah, Cody, what does this do for the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah, I was right there. I wanted Carlos Correa too, but it kind of splits the difference. You get a good player, a veteran player who's been on a championship winning team. He said it reminds this Detroit roster and feel reminds him of how the Cubs were coming up before they won their pennant. So it kind of splits the difference, and definitely somebody for this up and coming Detroit young team to rally around, and the fans are still going to be happy to have him here in Detroit.
I tell you what, and even with Eduardo Rodriguez signing, which I wasn't really impressed by that. I mean, he did his job over there at Boston. He does get hit on, so hoorah. But we added another good arm to the bullpen there. I mean, this Tigers team, man, if you take a look at their roster, they got something cooking. They've got something growing over there. So we gotta get we gotta get a couple more acquisitions, for this team. But there's a lot of talent on this Tigers team, and I think they're heading in the right direction.
Especially when some of our farm system and picks from the last couple of years started to come to fruition, like Torkelson and Casey Mize.
Yes, especially in the pitching, because that's very important. You gotta have a staff, man. If you don't have a staff, and we lack in the reserves, we lack on the relief pitchers, and we've been so close to getting a solid closer, but we just haven't really captured the relief and closers yet, man. So that's what that will kill a baseball team. It doesn't matter how good your infield is or how great of hitters you have. If you don't have the rotation and the pitching and the bullpen, you're not gonna get distance. You might win some games. You might win 70 games, but you're not gonna get all the way there. I'm gonna get to the pennant.
Yeah, of course. We all know it'll secure a playoff spot if you get over 100 wins. That's kind of the aiming spot when you're looking at the playoffs, looking at the postseason going into October. You're looking at those things. You need all the pieces. We all know Detroit and the Tigers are due for a great team to really make a run. They haven't really seen a lot of success in the last, so many years. So we got to focus on that, and they got to focus on putting those puzzle pieces together and doing what they have to do to be successful. So in light of that, go ahead.
And so another signing and a shout out basically here. Robbie Ray, the reigning AL Cy Young winner of this year, had a phenomenal year, best year of his career. He signed with the Mariners there. He signed for a 5-year, $115 million deal contract, and Robbie Ray had a 2.884 ERA, his best of his career. Like I said there, another great pitcher going to the Mariners. Who again, the Mariners team who is young and has pitchers on their team. So there's some opportunity this upcoming season for teams like the Mariners to actually get to the playoffs. They're really close. They almost did it. So they got a lot to build off coming up in this next season.
Yeah, baseball is one of those sports where anybody can put together a run, just like the Atlanta Braves did this year. So
yep, and the Washington Nationals 2 years ago. I mean, that's the thing about baseball. That's why there's so much money. It's because there's so much potential. There's so a nobody can become a somebody on the baseball field. And it can happen if you got the skill, the talent. If you got what makes up for a Major League Baseball player, you will play.
Yep, you need that will to win. In light of that, though, in light of all these contracts being signed and being handed out, let's talk about the MLB lockout. So this is something that has, really taken the MLB world and its fandom by storm. Is this lockout? And there has to be an agreement.
Storm, I wouldn't say.
Why would you say that?
Well, they knew this was coming. They they started the collective bargaining agreement in 2016 on a 4-year contract there. So they knew from what was already constructed that time was coming, that there was going to be some important parts to talk about to get some changes in this next deal.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's a big deal, no matter what, no matter how you slice it. I guess, what does this lockout say for these contracts that have already been signed? And what does it say for future trades that are maybe pending or maybe yet to be decided? Because we are in the off season now. This is the season of trades and deals being signed. What does this lockout say for these deals that are pending?
yeah, so from what just transpired with all the big contracts and trades that were made between Robbie Ray, Max Scherzer, Javier, guys like that, all those guys, $1.8 million has been thrown out to the players that have been traded so far. So at 11:59 tonight, the collective bargaining agreement will be done. It will have expired, and the players and the owners have to come together and figure out another agreement. So in the meantime, if they don't reach agreement by 11:59 tonight, which it looks like it's not happening, um, it will be on hold. There is no activities, nothing. It's a lockout. All right. Just like when you went to a lockout in high school or middle school, the doors are locked. There was no getting out. Just like there was no getting in. Now theoretically, but
That was a lock in, but yeah, I know.
yeah, true. Lock in exactly. But you understand what I'm saying here. So
Yes.
there's no activities to be done. If there was trade talk between say Tigers and another player, and it didn't happen after the agreement has expired at 11:59 tonight, it don't matter. The talks are done. There is no more discussion. There's no more talking. There's no more washing your hands, using the bathroom, going in the field, talking to the trainers. None of that crap. It's done. It's a lockout until
Yeah,
an
I think that's
agreement is
why
made.
some of the deals like not Corey Seager, Carlos Correa hasn't been signed yet, because that is a big commitment. And teams know that if they sign up, some crazy stuff happens during the lockout. Like it's a big percentage that no games will be missed, but you never know what happens in lockouts. We're 3 months away from the season, but there is no real timetable for when the lockout will be over.
Yeah,
from what I can see. So on the other side of that, that's why some of these teams did get the deals done today or in the days leading up to this, because they wanted that player and they knew it.
I would agree. There was commitment there, and that's why you've seen such big payouts too. I mean, Javier was 6 years, 140. I think the Tigers got a good number there on him, but the other guys got great numbers. So 5 years, 115 for Robbie Ray, who just had his best ERA season, and he's been in the league for like 12 years or something like that. But with this lockout, it hasn't happened since '94 season. Where was I going with this? It's just shoot, I lost my train of thought. But it's going to be an issue. It could get resolved. I think what I was reading, though, that there is a potential that they can say, all right, we don't have an agreement, but we will continue to run our processes as what was stated on the last agreement that was developed in 2016. So they could run that route. They could continue going on with it until they come to a conclusion and play, or it'll be completely shut down. And this will be based on, I think it said the owners, but I think the players will have a large say in what really happens. If the lockout's going to be a lockout, or that they're going to continue proceeding on to the season and trying to work something out until it's worked out, or you hit a dead end. So
yeah, still a lot to be decided. A lot of stuff is up in the air regarding the MLB lockout. So we found this story very closely as more developing things happen, as more news is broken. We'll be in touch and we'll be locked in on this topic as it develops. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the NFL a little bit. Let's talk about the playoff picture. So there's some teams that are on the bubble. There's some teams that are, looking like they're going to be locked in. We still got a good amount of games left in the NFL season. What I want to ask you guys is, what teams are on the bubble? What teams need to do certain things to make sure they guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs? And what teams are those teams in question? Smitty, I'll start with you, then I'll go to Cody.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, there's 6. It's week 13. There's still 6 regular season games left. You're going to see a lot of movement. There's 6 games left, and so in the playoffs this year, 14 teams, 7 from each division or conference, top 7 there. You got the Colts right now at 10. Here's an example. The Colts are at 10, okay? And the Titans are at 3rd position. So Titans 8-4, Colts are 6-6. And for example, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, both on IR, plus Derrick Henry, right? And they I think they're on a 2-game losing streak. Did they win last week, guys?
2-game losing streak.
2-game losing streak. So you're going to see the Titans drop and continue to drop and continue to drop. And you're going to see the Colts probably continue to rise up because they've been playing very well. So there's a lot of movement to still happen. But what you're seeing right now, these top 7 teams, especially in the American Football Conference, the AFL, there's not going to be a ton of movement from the bottom. You got teams like the Browns and Steelers that are going to try to do something special, the Browns, but they're just not going to make it. We got teams like the Broncos and Raiders, who are 7 and 8 right now, who may dwindle down. Plus, 7, 8, 9 is Chargers, Raiders, Broncos in the AFL. So there's a lot of movement that can happen there. All 6 and 5. And then when you look at the National Football League, you got, there's going to be from 7 to 12. I'm sorry, 7 to 10, they're 5 and 6, and then 11 to 12, Eagles and Panthers are 5 and 7. So come on, guys, there's a lot of movement that's going to happen here. 6 games.
Yeah, there's still a lot to happen, to still take place. I think you look at the Packers in the NFC North; they're looking pretty comfortable right there at 9 and 3, with the Minnesota Vikings sitting at 5 and 6, right below them. The Bears haven't really been doing a whole lot. There's a lot of indecision with them and their quarterback situation, whether Justin Fields is going to come back from injury. Looks like Andy Dalton's going to be in the position right now, quarterback for the Bears, and they don't. I think there's some bad blood with the Bears and Matt Nagy and Andy Dalton just as a whole, as a team, just because Justin Fields was started over him and things like that. And I think there's a lot of turmoil as far as the team chemistry is concerned for the Bears. So the NFC North looks like it's secured by the Packers. They got to keep winning though. Definitely go at least 500 with the rest of the season. They're looking good though.
You're looking at the divisions. I'm looking at the conferences here. So, but if you asked a question on the bubble teams, and I'm gonna go with the NFC, right? The bubble teams I'm looking at right now is Washington, Vikings, contenders, Washington, Vikings, and the Eagles. Okay, the Eagles are currently in 11th place at 5 and 7, and Washington and the Vikings are 7 and 8 at 5 and 6. So you're gonna see these teams that it's gonna be interesting. Every week for these next 6 games, a win is imperative for these teams that are looking out from an outside looking in.
Yeah, 100%. Cody, what are your thoughts about? We'll start with the AFC. What are your thoughts about the AFC? Which teams do you think need to do the work as far as coming back? And now I got the actual conference view pulled up here. Got the Ravens in first place in the AFC. What teams in the AFC? We'll start with the AFC. We'll do a little round table. What teams are on the bubble? What teams are secured? And what teams are likely out?
Yeah, as far as like the division leaders and who's right in the hunt, all that could shift in most of these divisions. I mean, like the Titans, they're leading their division, but they're at 8 and 4. They have all the injuries, like Smitty just said. The Patriots, they look pretty good, and Mac Jones, but the Bills, they could get hot and have a run to end the season. I'm not even a big Ravens fan, as you guys know, but I'm not comfortable sitting at there 8 and 3. Each performance is kind of just a question mark, nothing too strong. Even Lamar Jackson said he needs to get back in the lab. And the Bengals, Joe Burrow sitting right there, and not as worried about the Steelers or Browns, but anything could happen. The Browns got hot at the end of last year and almost beat the Chiefs. So, yeah, the Colts, they had an abysmal start to the season, and they're starting to try and turn things around. They have the Texans coming up. So lots of stuff in the NFC could shuffle, like you guys said. It is a weird year in the NFL. There's no real clear-cut favorite. Even the Rams and the Bucks and the Packers have missteps and question marks and odd variables to them that aren't usually there.
Yeah, definitely. A lot that can still happen. Still a lot of games left, like we mentioned. And there's a lot of teams right there in the middle of the section. I'd say anywhere from 5 to 7 games, 5 to 7 wins. You have opportunities to advance. If certain teams lose that are higher than you, if you continue to win and go, definitely got to go over 500 if you're at 5 or 6 wins. I think that's an automatic must to make that top 7 spots. But
if the playoffs ended right now, if the season stopped, the Washington football team would get in at 5 and 6. So that just kind of speaks to how different it is this year. And they're not alone.
They're one game under 500 with 6 games
exactly
left,
so. Yeah, 6 games left. It's a long season, but
that's bold. I'm gonna go with a statement here. So a couple weeks ago, I said that the Rams were going to win it all. I'm gonna tell you, I'm changing it to the Green Bay Packers.
The Pack.
Green Bay Packers win it all this year. Super Bowl, whatever number it is.
But what happened to that loss against the Vikings? AFC North, a little bit of a rivalry.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. Honestly,
Kirk D. Cousins.
Yeah, like Cody said, what a great football season we are witnessing. There's just so much going on, teams winning that I love it. It's a great season. I'm so excited to see what transpires, what's gonna come up in these next 6 weeks, and then the playoffs. Man, everything just turns up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Need
Still
the
a lot to
Lions to
consider.
stay winless,
Yeah.
lock down that number 1 pick overall.
They got close. They got close with that tie against the Steelers. Big Ben was out. Mason Rudolph was in there. That was their chance, I think, to get a win.
Tried to beat the Bears.
Yeah, tried to
I
beat
think
the Bears.
what was more embarrassing was the timeout game. Which one was that? Was that the Bears? Yeah, that was the Bears on Thanksgiving. The
first Bears.
timeout, man. That
Yep.
that was the icing, the cherry on top. I mean, goodness gracious, you, you can't be more surprised than to see the Lions find a new way to lose.
Hey, they'll always find a way. They'll invent a new way if they have to. Smitty, let me ask you, because I know you're a devout Lions fan. I just got to ask you this, and I'm going to ask you this frequently. What keeps the fire going as far as being a Lions fan, continuing to go week after week and be like, you know what? This might be the week we win a game.
It's just, it's mental toughness there. At the end of the night, at the end of the day, it's mental toughness. Just sticking it through. You got a state, and the NFL team that's in your state is the Detroit Lions. Great city in Detroit there. A lot of great sports history has transpired in this state, and so you gotta see it through to the brighter days. You gotta stay mentally tough. Hey, if you move out of the state and you got a different team in your state, and all the power to root for that team, go for it. If I moved, I would be changing my team. I'm just playing. I would still root for the Lions. It's just something. It's just
No
that
way.
Lions blood.
When I went to Charlotte, I was devout Lions fan, just in Panthers faces, and it was a good time. And we beat the Panthers that year, and it was a great experience. So
win or
it
lose,
pays off every once in a great while, but not
it's
enough.
tough.
It's a tough journey. You can't deny that. And I don't think there's anything that's written down that says you have to be a fan of the team in your state.
No, of course not. Absolutely not. Nope. No. But if you live in the state, you might as well adopt what the state offers. You might as well bring it all in.
Hey, to each their own. If you make your bed, you gotta sleep in it, right? So
the Lions have history, though, man. The Lions it's just National Football League. You got the Detroit Lions.
Oh my God.
Rumbling, tumbling, fumbling.
But at the end of the day, man, I'm not just a Lions fan. The Lions, hoorah! But just a fan of winners. That's what we do. That's what we want around here. We want to be a part of the winning team.
Oh, if you're a fan of winners, you're a fan of the wrong team. Let me tell you.
We will support the losers.
Hey, that's all right. You do that. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the college football playoff a little bit. Let's look at the outlook. Let's see what can change. We're going to touch on this a lot more on Cody and I's podcast this Friday with the Gin College podcast. We'll talk about it a little bit now. The AP rankings were released along with the college football playoff rankings yesterday. Gary Barta took the stand. And Cody, I believe you tuned into that interview with Gary Barta. What did he have to say?
Yeah, and he left the door open the committee left the door open for Notre Dame, but he did, in fact, allude to the situation that Notre Dame has with Brian Kelly leaving to go to LSU. Crazy situation, how he left his players, had a small meeting with them. Just not a big fan of how he handled it, but Gary Barta said that he might hold it against the Fighting Irish not having Brian Kelly and their head coach to lead them. He would hold it against them into maybe getting into that 4th spot if chaos does happen this weekend, like everybody wants it to.
Yeah, he has a lot. He has a lot on his plate, and I think Gary Barta has a little more power than some people would like to admit that he does. Especially bringing in the Brian Kelly thing with Notre Dame and his talks about going to LSU, things like that, having that affect the team's chances of making it to the top 4 no matter what happens. That's almost making it sound like, let's just paint the doomsday picture here for a second. Let's say Cincy loses to Houston. Let's say Alabama loses to Georgia, which is likely to happen. That guarantees almost that Oklahoma State and the Cowboys are going to make it in the top 4, right? And then
as long as they take care of business against
well,
Baylor.
if they both happen, if Houston pulls the upset against Cincy, then you would think that Notre Dame would squeeze their way into that 4th spot. But what Barta's saying is that almost Ohio State could jump over Notre Dame and make it to that 4th spot, completely disregarding their record, and just kind of considering that coaching move, that coaching carousel, which is also really been a huge factor in discussing the college football playoff landscape going into next season. But to have that be a factor in the college football playoff rankings, I think that's saying a little too much. What do you think?
Yeah, kind of just makes it obvious that it's about money, which we all know that it is, but you shouldn't wear it like a patch on your shirt. You should at least try to fake that it's about the fairness and objectivity of strength of schedule and teams getting in. Because, I mean, Notre Dame, their one loss is to Cincinnati, who's sitting there at 4 undefeated, so just kind of shows their ass a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Smitty, what do you got to say about all this noise going on?
What noise exactly?
Just the whole Notre Dame thing, the Brian Kelly thing, the college football playoff,
the
Michigan.
coaching moves that have happened, I think, are a bit distasteful, especially for a team who is ranked number 6. It is. Is that correct? Sorry.
Yep. It's on the screen.
For the coach to lead the team, I don't know why you don't do that after the season's over with.
Well, there might have been a contingency with his decision. He might have been, held to an ultimatum and be like, you better give us an answer.
I'm having
the LSU Tigers.
Yeah,
he was actually doing some recruiting. I believe he was in California, flew out there to do some recruiting for the Fighting Irish. He was on the plane on the way back, got the call from LSU, and they agreed on the plane. And he told his players, hey, we got to have a meeting in the morning.
That's crazy, man.
I mean, you talk about leaving your team and completely betraying your team. I mean, the Lincoln Riley thing is a perfect story about that. I mean, you talk about the Oklahoma Sooners. You talk about the players being like, "This, we're going to make this." What did he say? He said something on Twitter. We're going to make this.
He said that this is going to be the mecca of college football.
Yeah.
And one of his recruits commented, he said the same thing to us. He called him out on the IG comments.
Oh, that's funny. He was put on the
Hey, Mel Tucker did the same thing. He was hooting and hollering over there in Colorado saying how like he was building a dynasty, and then the next thing you know, he's shipping out. So it's just college coaches, they're businessmen. So you can't be surprised at the end of the day. Getting the bag and securing it and moving on to
not everybody's a Jim Harbaugh, okay? Not everybody's blindly committed to a fan base that wants you fired.
It was so funny. Dave Portnoy was like, man, he made some comment about these coaches signing elsewhere. He's like, just so happy that no one could get Coach Harbaugh because something about him being at the best school or whatnot, and it's like, I think he was jokingly saying that because who's going to go after Jim Harbaugh? Like, no one.
Nobody wants him.
He's a weirdo for sure, but
he's perfect for Michigan, man. He's perfect for Michigan. So, anyways, with all that being said and done, I don't see Notre Dame getting into the 4th slot. I am predicting Georgia to beat Alabama. As long as Oklahoma State can capture this opportunity and moment that they have right in front of them, they beat Baylor.
I think Baylor's at that 9 spot, so Baylor's no walk in the park though. They're going to get
no. Baylor's a solid team for sure, and this is a neutral location that it's actually in Texas. Baylor's in Texas, so the game's getting played at AT&T Stadium, Dallas's home stadium there, of course. So as long as Oklahoma can go and win that game, they'll get into number 4, presiding that Cincinnati beats Houston, which I think is going to be done there. I think Cincinnati's going to put their foot on Houston's throat. This game is actually in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, and of course, heck, Michigan's got to do their job. Let's not overlook this game against Iowa over there, Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. Michigan's got to do their job.
If you guys had to pick one surprise to happen, say Michigan lose to Iowa, Alabama beat Georgia, Houston beat Cincy, which one do you guys find most likely to happen?
Yeah, so it would one most likely I think would happen out of those 3 would be Houston beating Cincinnati. Because Houston can put up points and Cincinnati doesn't show up on the defensive side of the ball, which I don't see how that's going to not happen. I mean, this is like, again, another moment. This is Cincinnati and Oklahoma State. The cards are on the table, guys. Like, this is your moment. Do what you need to do. But I don't see. I mean, Baylor could be Oklahoma State. I think if you would have added Baylor versus Oklahoma State, I'd say if Baylor beats Oklahoma State, I'd be okay. I'm a little bit surprised there, but not that surprised. These teams should be all handle business this weekend for sure.
Well, Baylor got the job done against Oklahoma, so
in convincing fashion too.
Yeah, right. But Oklahoma State is just so much. Oklahoma's kind of one-dimensional on their offensive side of the ball, and Oklahoma State on the other side, they're a little bit more versatile. They have that run game in their running back, but Sanders can run as well.
Can take off. Yep.
Yeah, he's a great runner, and he can pass the ball.
Caleb Williams can run too.
But Cal Williams,
true.
he's a freshman. Like Sanders has been there, done that. He's a senior. Like these guys are. Oklahoma State is primed and ready to go to get into that 4th spot when Alabama loses to this for the 2nd time to Georgia.
Oh.
I think it's interesting how real the possibility is, especially if Barta's talking crazy about Notre Dame, how real the possibility of Ohio State making it back to the top 4 is, especially if all these doomsday prophecies come true. Say Houston does beat Cincy, say Baylor beats Oklahoma State. There's room for movement there. And then you got Georgia. If they beat Alabama, they're getting knocked out. So that's 3 spots that are going to be opened up.
If Baylor beats Oklahoma State, hoorah!
Well, they're getting knocked out of the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so Baylor and Iowa are both kind of
6,
playing.
And who's 7?
Ohio State.
Buckeyes.
Ohio State.
Are you looking at the same screen I'm looking at?
Sorry, I'm looking at the games getting played this weekend. My bad.
Jeez, Pete.
That's my bad. No, I am. But yeah, you're right.
I think that Bryce Young, I don't know. I think he might be able to will away past this Georgia defense if he can find a way to if they can find a way to score quick. I don't know. I just feel like Alabama, Nick Saban, they always got some kind of bag of tricks. Maybe he'll play some guy we haven't seen all year, some redshirt freshman.
It's college football. We've seen crazier things.
Georgia's most impressive win is against 9-3 Clemson. And that they held them 3 points, but they only put up 10. They dominated all these other SEC teams, but I've looked at their schedule and it's just not as impressive as some of these other teams.
I think it might, man. I think I was gonna say Georgia is just so dominant. They might. I just don't see them losing this year at all. They're just dominant, man.
I think Wolverines got them, but I don't want.
I don't know, but look,
meet them until the Natty. But I think that we could beat them if we play how we did against Ohio State.
Yeah, if this goes away, I think it might. Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State. So that means Michigan plays Oklahoma State, right?
If Alabama loses, yeah.
Or is it Michigan plays Cincinnati, 2 and 3 play and 1 and 4 play?
Yeah, 2 and 3.
That's how it goes. Okay. In that case, man, and then shoot.
In that case, you want Georgia to beat Alabama. So because Michigan, you guys want Oklahoma State, I think, more than Alabama.
No, we want Cincinnati. Cincinnati would move to 3. Oklahoma State would move to 4. We would get Cincinnati. Georgia would get Oklahoma State.
I think it would kind of depend on how they each played this weekend, but I think if we take care of business at Iowa, I think we're locked in it too. So it's just I'd take either one of them against. I'd rather
that
play
3 and 4
or Oklahoma State than Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah,
I'm telling you now, Cincinnati, I don't see them losing. So, and then there's more on the committee than just that one guy. So Notre Dame still has a great
more guys just like him.
But still, if Notre Dame can win this, does Notre Dame play this weekend?
No, they're chilling.
So they're just chilling.
They're an independent. So it's like they don't play in a conference championship.
Right.
So that can either be a blessing or a curse depending on the year.
So that means
I feel like that works against you right away.
And Ohio State jumps to 4. So Georgia and Ohio State play, and then Michigan and Cincinnati play.
I just think it's amazing to look at how much movement potential is still possible going into the conference finals for a lot of
this hypothetical. Really.
Yeah. There's so many things that can happen. There's a lot of puzzle pieces that still need to be placed.
It's a top 7 there. Beyond that, you're not looking at any other teams.
Top 7 though. 7. Like you're lucky to be able to talk about a 5th team coming to the top 4, let alone an extra 2.
No. What do you mean? I'm talking about right now in the top 1 through 7. That those are the only teams that have any consideration of making it into the top 4. Everyone past 7. Yeah, but that's if Alabama's going to lose, and that's if Oklahoma State and Cincinnati lose. If Michigan loses, I just don't see Michigan losing to Iowa. They're just not going to lose. It's not happening.
If Michigan loses, if all those
first.
Teams happen, if all those games lose and Michigan lose, then you're bringing the 8th spot into conversation.
Bro, Michigan's not losing.
No.
Ole Miss number 4.
Is not bad. Look. Stroud was dealing with the inclement weather of the snow and whatnot in the environment and the freshman, but Petrus is not even close to the level of Stroud, and Stroud's a freshman. You give Stroud a dry field, that game might be a little bit different. I think Michigan still wins because their offensive plays looked great and their defense played so tough. But you're going against an Iowa team who they just are not the team. They're in the Big Ten championship game because Winston. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin just couldn't get it done. No one's surprised there. It's just a weak division. that side of the ball of the Big Ten is so weak. It's dumb. It's silly. So no problem. Michigan's gonna win. Georgia's gonna win. Okay, 1 and 2.
This is coming from the guy that said, and that took Ohio State -7 this past Saturday.
Hey, I'm so
Cody,
happy
you gotta
I
know
did.
that. We got to know that for the record.
Yeah, hey.
Couldn't be happier to take that.
Oh, really? You were happy with that?
Yeah, and couldn't be. Yes, I lost. Good. Michigan won. They won the East. And they're going to the Big Ten championship game. I'm just like, wow. The way the season started for Michigan to be at this point, and after losing to State, which we should not have lost that game. But then
I'll take losing to. I'll lose to State every year if this
fuck
is
that. You shut your mouth, Cody. Get him out. Kick him out right now.
If this is the end result, we beat Ohio State.
I support with that. I support that.
Mel Tucker can have that. Hold that W.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Okay, Smitty, let me ask you this. Okay, since you responded that way, I got to ask you this question. Which rivalry is bigger, Michigan-Ohio State or Michigan-Michigan State?
Michigan-Ohio State. We absolutely fucking hate Ohio State. Like, we want to murder them, and they've just...
So you should be agreeing with Cody.
No, because we fuck up little brother, too. Like, little brother for a reason. All right?
I mean, it hasn't looked like that the last couple years.
We're not happy with... We're not going to trade, lose to Ohio... or lose Michigan State so we can beat Ohio State. No. We want to beat both of them. We should have this year.
I think
we're disappointed.
Given the circumstances, you should be much happier that you beat Ohio State and not Michigan State. If you could take,
I'm reborn.
Winning against either one. Say you could pick winning against State or winning against Ohio State. I think you'd rather win against Ohio State than the other way around.
My dad watching that game was just hooting and hollering, man. He was diehard Michigan fans. 8 years of losing to that Fuckeye team. It's like, God, what a great win to have it in Ann Arbor, in that weather, in this season. Huge, man. Those huge implications, man. If we lost that game, no way we're making it into the 4. Now we're number 2. We're going dancing. Take care of Iowa, and we're going dancing.
Yeah, unless that big boy who won Offensive Lineman of the Year, I think his name's Tyler Laudenman, can block our whole defensive line, which he can't.
Just a spoiler. Out there.
Can't block Ojabo and Hutchinson. You just can't do it, okay? Hutch for Heisman. Hashtag Hutch for Heisman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cody was blasting that out on the Twitter waves today.
I'm campaigning hard for that, baby.
Our DBs have really stepped up from last year to this year. That's the thing, definitely. Too. That's because we've had the defensive line. The past couple seasons, last 5 years, we've had solid players come through in that box of 6 there. And it's been the DBs that we've needed the most. And Vincent Gray stepped up big from last year to this year, man. He was a liability last year, and now he's a dog out there. Same with Daxton Hill. Daxton Hill's going to go first round.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. A lot of things to consider. I think something else that has to be considered, and we'll let this go, we'll put this to bed until Friday, Cody. But I think I have to reiterate this fact is a lot of these teams don't have the potential of making it to the college football playoff, to the top 4, whether they're in the top 7. A lot of these teams are in the top 7 that are playing against teams that are and do have promise going forward. I guess what kind of emphasis has to be put on the fact that these teams that are playing for conference titles, maybe they're not going to make it to the top 4 and not going to be playing for a BCS championship. These teams have nothing to lose. I guess what kind of emphasis do you have to put on those teams where they have nothing to lose? They're going to put it all on the table. Is that a threat to some of these teams that do have more to play for?
Oh, definitely. If the Wolverines do walk in there, sleepwalking, night game in Indianapolis, just looking forward to the playoffs and not really respecting the Hawkeyes, then it could come back to bite them because they have nothing. Their season's over. They are basically just playing the spoiler at this point. And in any sport, we see how those teams kind of play. So you just got to be cautious.
What do you think, Smitty?
Yeah, I mean, I just I can't talk enough about this Michigan team. I don't think they're going to come in there over the top of their heads. I think they're going to come in there very focused and hungrier than ever.
Different. Blake Corum put on his Instagram story celebrating the win, and he put the clip of Kobe Bryant when he was up 2-0, and they're like, "You don't look happy." He's like, "Job's not done." Just so serious. Like, he's like,
"That's the mentality, though. Nope. That's what's going to take to win."
Exactly.
Yeah, and gosh, I just love that Hutchinson came back, and then the motto that Bo Schembechler created of those who stay will be champions.
I mean, and look at JJ McCarthy. I don't know. I follow him on social medias, and he's all Bo Schembechler. Yeah, he's a character and has lots of stuff going on with him. But
legend.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, coach. I
Yep.
don't know.
Well, we're beating a dead horse now, boys.
Definitely.
Beating a dead horse. Let's do some wrap ups. Cody, let's do your closing statements, and then we'll go with Stainer. Cody, go ahead.
Yeah, go Blue tonight. Got to win against UNC in hoops. Got big game. Got to bounce back from a slow start. 2 losses, kind of close to one another. And then I'll just say Michigan State, number 22, is beating Louisville convincingly, 52-39, just a little bit into the second half. So chew on that.
Go ahead, Smitty.
Yeah, Smitty's just looking forward to Saturday, 8 o'clock. Well, of course, you got the Thursday podcast, talk about some NFL there. No, 6 weeks, like we said, and then we're gonna find out what transpires with MLB and the lockout. Unfortunately, no one likes a lockout. It can go a long while, so we will see what transpires. Let's hope they can figure something out so baseball can be back as regularly scheduled. But yeah, go Blue, baby, and good podcast today.
Yeah. Had some good talks today. To touch on what Cody said, the ACC Big Ten Challenge is going on. State's beating Louisville and the Cardinals considerably. And yeah, it's going to be a great tournament. I'm really, these tournaments, especially early in the season, college basketball, very exciting. Really tells you what these teams are all about. And yes, as far as the MLB lockout is concerned, we got to keep a close eye, keep a close look on that to make sure we're staying focused on that to see if, there's a huge potential that there might not be an MLB season with all this news that's come out. So we're going to have to follow this very closely and respect the news and just take it with a grain of salt and basically run with it when we get the news. So good deal, guys. Make sure to follow all of our socials on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All of those are on the link tree at the bottom of your screen. Make sure to follow those, share all of our posts, and get the word out to the people that need to hear it. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight on the Gin Sports Network podcast. This is all we have, and we'll see you guys next time. I'm your host, as always, John J. II.